The first time I smelled another man's cologne on my wife, I told myself I was crazy. It was late. Vanessa walked in from the gym at 11 p.m., her hair still wet, her cheeks pink. I was sitting in the dark on the couch, and I hadn't planned to wait up. I just couldn't sleep. "You're still awake?" she said. "Couldn't sleep," I said. "How was the gym?" "Long." She kissed the top of my head, fast, and walked past me. That's when I smelled it. Not her perfume, not mine. Something sharp, expensive, a man's cologne. I sat there for a long minute. My heart was beating in a strange way. Let me back up. My name is Daniel Cole. I'm 34. I build things. I'm an architect, and I built my own firm from nothing, working nights and weekends for 8 years, until people finally started saying my name with respect. I'm not loud. I don't fight. When something is wrong, my first move is to stay calm and find a reason it isn't. That's my problem. I'll explain away anything to keep the peace. So that night, I explained it away too. Maybe a guy at the gym wore too much. Maybe he hugged her. People hug at gyms. Stop being insane, Daniel. But here's the thing about a small wrongness. Once you notice one, you start noticing all of them. The next morning, her phone buzzed on the counter. She flipped it face down before I could even glance at it. Not slow, fast, like a reflex she'd practiced. "Who was that?" I asked. "Light, casual, spam," she said, and smiled. A week later, her 1-hour gym sessions had become 4 hours. She came home and didn't even look tired. She came home glowing. And then there was the name, Marcus. It started slipping into her sentences, like it had always belonged there. "Marcus says the protein stuff is overrated. Marcus knows a great smoothie place. Marcus, Marcus, Marcus." One night at dinner, I finally asked, "Who's Marcus?" She didn't even look up from her plate. "My gym buddy." "Why? You talk about him a lot." Now she looked up, and her face did something I'll never forget. It got soft and sad, like I was the one hurting her. "Daniel," she said quietly, "are you seriously doing this? You're going to be jealous of a friend?" I didn't say. "I work hard. I finally found something that makes me feel good about myself, and you want to take it away because you're insecure." She put her fork down. "I thought you were better than this." And just like that, I was apologizing. "You're right. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "It's okay. I forgive you. I forgive you." Like I had done something wrong. I went to bed feeling small and stupid, promising myself I'd never bring up Marcus again. I want you to understand something. I'm telling you all of this so you'll know exactly the kind of man I was back then. The kind who hears the alarm bell ringing and turns it off so he doesn't have to wake up. But 3 nights later, I was hanging up Vanessa's coat in the hall closet, the one she'd worn to the gym, and something crinkled in the inside pocket. A receipt. I almost didn't pull it out. I want you to know that. My hand actually stopped, because some part of me already knew that whatever was on that paper, I couldn't unknow it. I pulled it out anyway. It was from a hotel, a nice one, downtown, the kind with valet parking and a rooftop bar. The kind we'd never gone to together. The date was last Tuesday. The time was 2:14 in the afternoon, and right there at the bottom, in small grey letters, was a line that made the floor drop out from under me. "Room charge, 1 king suite." I read it 3 times. Then I folded it, put it back exactly where I found it, and went and sat in my car in the driveway for an hour, in the dark, not moving, because I finally understood. The cologne wasn't crazy. I was the crazy one, for not seeing it sooner. I didn't sleep that night, or the next one. I kept the receipt. I don't know why. I should have thrown it in the trash, or thrown it in Vanessa's face. Instead, I folded it into a tiny square and kept it in my wallet, behind my ID, like a piece of glass I was scared to touch. 3 days later, my sister came over. Lena is 2 years younger than me. She works as a paralegal, which means she spends all day reading other people's lies and finding the cracks in them. She walked into my kitchen, took one look at my face, and put her bag down slowly. "Okay," she said. "What happened?" "Nothing happened. Danny." She crossed her arms. "You look like someone died." "Sit." I sat. She made coffee like it was her house, which it basically was when we were kids. Then she put a cup in front of me and sat across the table and just waited. That's her trick. She doesn't ask twice. She just waits until you can't take the silence anymore. I lasted about 90 seconds. I think Vanessa is cheating on me, I said. The words felt insane out loud, like I'd said them in a language I didn't speak. Lena didn't gasp. She didn't say no way. She just nodded slowly, like a doctor hearing a symptom she'd already guessed. Tell me everything, she said. So I did. The cologne, the phone, the 4-hour gym sessions, Marcus. And then, with my hands shaking a little, I pulled out the wallet and unfolded the receipt and slid it across the table. She read it once. Her jaw tightened. A king suite, she said. 2:14 in the afternoon, on a Tuesday. It could be, I started. Don't. Lena held up one hand. Don't you dare finish that sentence. You don't know that it's... Danny, I love you, but stop. She leaned forward. Gym buddies don't get hotel rooms at 2 in the afternoon. You know that. You've known it for weeks. That's why you can't sleep. I felt my eyes get hot. I looked down at the table. She makes it sound so reasonable, I said quietly. Every time, she makes me feel like I'm the crazy one, like I'm the bad guy for even asking. Lena's face changed then. The lawyer went away for a second, and my little sister came back. That's not an accident, she said softly. People who do this, they're good at it. The flipping it around on you, the making you apologize. That's not a marriage problem, Danny. That's a strategy. That word hit me harder than anything. Strategy. So what do? I said. Do I confront her? Do I just ask her straight out? No. Lena said it fast. Hard. No? Think about what happens if you confront her right now. She tapped the receipt. You've got one piece of paper. One. She's a black belt at turning things around on you, right? So what does she do? She cries. She says it's a work thing, a friend's thing. She was holding it for someone. She makes you the monster again. And then... Lena's eyes narrowed. And then she gets careful. She cleans up. And you never find out the truth. You just spend the rest of your life knowing and never being able to prove it. I sat with that. It was the worst thing I'd ever heard, because it was exactly right. So I do nothing, I said. No. Lena stood up and came around the table and crouched beside my chair, the way she used to when I was little and scared of thunder. You don't do nothing. You do the opposite of what she expects. You stay calm. You stay sweet. You don't change one single thing about how you act. And you watch everything, she said. You write down dates. You keep receipts. You find out exactly how deep this goes before she even knows you're looking. The day you confront her, you don't bring one piece of paper, Danny. She squeezed my shoulder. You bring all of them. I looked at my sister. Something cold and steady moved into my chest, right where the panic had been. For the first time in weeks, my hands stopped shaking. Okay, I said. Say nothing, she said. Change nothing. Watch everything. I nodded. I had no idea yet that everything was a number, and that the number was 47. For 2 weeks, I did exactly what Lena said. I smiled. I made Vanessa's coffee in the morning. I told her she looked nice when she left for the gym at 2 in the afternoon. I kissed her goodbye and meant none of it, and I learned something about myself I didn't like. I'm a good actor when I have to be. But I needed more than receipts. I needed the truth, the whole shape of it, and I found it by accident. Here's the thing about my firm. We have a corporate travel account, flights, hotels, all of it, run through one rewards program. My assistant, Priya, manages it. Vanessa is listed as a spouse on the account, because 2 years ago we took a trip to Denver for my work, and I added her so she could book her own flight home. I'd completely forgotten. She hadn't. One Monday, Priya knocked on my office door with her laptop. Daniel, sorry, the hotel reward statement looks weird. There's a ton of activity I didn't book. I think someone's using the account number. Should I report it? My whole body went still. Let me see, I said. My voice came out normal. I don't know how. She turned the laptop around, and there it was, a list. Date after date after date. Same hotel chain. Going back over a year. Booked under Vanessa's loyalty number, the one tied to my account. Don't report it yet, I said. Forward me the full statement. I'll handle it. You sure? I'm sure. Thank you, Priya. She left. I closed my door, and I sat down and opened that statement, and started to count. I'm not going to lie to you. I hoped it would be 3, maybe 4, some short, stupid thing I could survive. I counted to 10, and my chest started to hurt. I counted to 20, and I had to put my hand flat on the desk to keep the room from tilting. I counted to 40, then 41, 42, 47, 47 hotel check-ins, over 14 months, same chain. And when I clicked into the details, my stomach turned all the way over, because a lot of them were the same room, like it was theirs, like they had a place. I sat there, and the dates started talking to me. There was one in October. I clicked it and stared at it for a long time, because October was our anniversary. I remembered that night. I'd taken her to dinner, the nice Italian place, and given her a necklace, and she'd cried and said she was so lucky. She'd checked into that hotel with him 2 days before. There was one in March. March was when her mother had surgery, and Vanessa told me she was staying at the hospital overnight to help. I'd packed her a bag. I'd put in her favorite tea. I'd texted her good night, you're a good daughter, and she'd texted back a heart. She wasn't at the hospital. I want to tell you I cried. I didn't. That's the part that scared me. I went somewhere past crying, somewhere cold and quiet. I closed the laptop and got my keys and walked out past Priya and got in my car, and I just sat there in the parking garage. I thought about all the times I apologized to her. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm insecure. 47 times she'd held me while she was holding him. 47 times I'd made her coffee in the morning after she came home glowing. I thought about the word Lena used, strategy, and I finally understood it all the way down. This wasn't a mistake. A mistake is one night. A mistake is one weekend. 47 is a relationship. 47 is a second life she'd been living right next to mine, in the same city, on my money, while looking me in the eye and calling me crazy for asking. My phone buzzed. A text. From her. Hey babe. Jim ran long, grabbing dinner with the girls. Love you. I looked at it for a long, long time. And something in me, the part that always explained things away, the part that always apologized, the part that turned off the alarm so he could go back to sleep, that part of me died right there in the parking garage. Quietly. No funeral. What grew in its place wasn't anger. Anger is hot and loud and stupid. This was different. This was calm. This was patient. I typed back, have fun, love you too. Then I screenshotted the entire statement, all 47, and I started a folder on my phone. I named it Jim. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw plates or flip a table or cry on the floor. I was going to wait. And I already knew, sitting in that dark garage, exactly where it was going to happen. There was a gala in 6 weeks. My biggest client was hosting it. Vanessa already had a dress. She thought it was going to be her night. She had no idea it was going to be mine. 2 weeks later, Vanessa did something she'd never done before. Babe, she said over breakfast, all sweet. I want you to meet my gym friends. There's a little dinner Friday. You should come. I almost dropped my coffee. She'd spent 14 months keeping these two worlds apart. Now she was opening the door herself. I didn't understand it then. I do now. She was so sure of her control over me that she'd gotten lazy. She thought I was furniture. Safe, dumb furniture that would never look up. Sure, I said. I'd love to. Really? She looked surprised, then pleased. Marcus will be there. You'll like him. Everyone likes Marcus. I'm sure I will, I said. I smiled at her over my eggs and thought, I'm going to meet him. I'm finally going to see his face. Friday came. The restaurant was loud and expensive. Vanessa wore a dress I'd never seen. She introduced me around the table, names I didn't bother to keep, and then a hand landed on my shoulder from behind. So this is the famous Daniel. I turned around. Marcus Reed was tall, tan, white teeth, the kind of handsome that knows it's handsome. He shook my hand too hard and held the grip a second too long, looking right into my eyes the whole time. Marcus, he said, I've heard a lot about you. Funny, I said. I've heard a lot about you too. Something flickered behind his eyes, just for a second. Then the smile came back. Vanessa says you're some kind of genius architect, he said, sitting down right across from me. Built your own firm. That's impressive, man, really. I got lucky, I said. No such thing as luck. He grinned and pointed his fork at me. Just guys who move and guys who don't. I drank my water and watched him talk. He was good, I'll give him that. Charming in a loud, easy way that made the whole table lean toward him. He kept touching Vanessa's chair when he reached for things. Once, his hand brushed her shoulder, and she didn't move it. I saw all of it. I felt nothing on my face. I'd practiced. Then the conversation turned, and that's when the night stopped being about my marriage and became about something bigger. "So, Daniel," Marcus said, leaning in, "I do a little investing, real estate mostly, but I've been getting into other things. Vanessa tells me your firm's blowing up. You ever take outside money?" I set my glass down slowly. "What do you mean? Partners, investors? You scale a firm like yours, you don't do it on your own cash forever." He spread his hands. "I'm just saying, a guy like me, I could open doors for a guy like you. He's so smart about this stuff," Vanessa said, beaming at him. Then at me. "You two should talk." And there it was. I sat very still and let the whole picture come together in my head, piece by piece, like one of my own blueprints. It wasn't just an affair. He wasn't just sleeping with my wife. He was circling my company, the thing I'd bled for. He'd been in Vanessa's ear, and she'd been feeding him information, how well we were doing, what we were worth, and now he was sitting across from me, fork in hand, smiling, telling me he could open doors. He wanted in, and once he was in, with my wife on his side, men like Marcus don't stay junior partners. They take over, they push you out of the thing you built, and put their name on the door. She wasn't just going to leave me with a broken heart, they were going to take everything. I felt that cold, patient thing settle deeper in my chest. "You know what?" I said, and I made myself smile at him. "You might be right. Let's talk." His eyes lit up. He thought he'd won. "Yeah? Smart man. Give me a few weeks," I said. "I've got some things to sort out at the firm first, cleaning up the books, that kind of thing. Then we'll sit down properly." "Take your time," Marcus said, raising his glass. "Good things are worth waiting for." "They really are," I said, and I clinked my water against his wine. Vanessa squeezed my knee under the table, happy. She thought she was watching her two worlds finally come together. She didn't understand that she'd just handed me the one thing I was missing, a reason to stop waiting and start moving. Because grief, I could have survived quietly. A broken heart, I might have walked away from. But the two of them, smiling at me across a dinner table while they planned to take my life's work? No. Now it was war, and they didn't even know it had started. That night I called Lena from the car. "I met him," I said. "And? It's worse than we thought." I looked at my own eyes in the rearview mirror. They looked like a stranger's, a calmer stranger. "He's not just after her, he's after the firm." Lena was quiet for a second. Then she said the words that changed everything. "Then we don't just expose them, Danny." Her voice was steel. "We make sure that when this is over, he has nothing, she has nothing, and you have everything." I looked out at the city lights. "Tell me how," I said. Lena was right. We weren't going to do this loud. We were going to do it quiet, legal, and final. The next morning, I met with two people. First, my lawyer, not the firm's lawyer, a new one, mine alone. His name was David, and he asked careful questions and didn't blink at any of my answers. Second, my accountant, who I'd trusted for 6 years. I put the folder on the table, the one called Jim. "I need to protect the firm," I told them. Completely, before anyone outside finds a way in. David read the statement, 47 lines. He looked up at me with something like respect. "You've been collecting this for a while." "Long enough. What we did over the next 4 weeks. I won't bore you with all of it, but here's what matters. The firm was the thing they wanted, so the firm is what I locked down first." David restructured the ownership so that every share, every asset, every dollar of value was tied up tight under my name in a way that no outside investor could ever touch. Marcus could knock on that door all he wanted now. It was a wall. Then we looked at the money. Vanessa and I had joint accounts, the way married people do. I didn't drain them. David told me not to, said it would tip her off and could look bad in court. Instead, we documented everything, every dollar she'd spent, including, it turned out, the hotels. She'd been paying for some of those rooms out of our account. Our money, my money, spent on the bed where she met him. David circled those charges in red. "This," he said, "is going to matter a lot." And the whole time, this was the hard part. I went home every night and was a good husband. I want you to understand how hard that was. I made her dinner. I asked about her day. I listened to her lie about the gym and said, "That's great, babe." She'd come home glowing, and I'd kiss her forehead and feel that cold, patient thing in my chest and smile. One night she actually cuddled up to me on the couch and said, "You've been so sweet lately. Did something change?" I almost laughed. Instead, I put my arm around her. "I just realized how lucky I am," I said, "to have you." She smiled and snuggled in. "I'm the lucky one." I looked at the top of her head and thought, "In a few weeks you'll remember this moment, and it'll make you sick." Then she said, "Oh, the gala, Raymond's gala. You're still coming, right, with me?" And there it was, the door, opening on its own again. "Of course," I said. "I wouldn't miss it." "Good." She sat up, excited. "I got the most amazing dress. Marcus is going too, did I mention? A bunch of the gym people are. Raymond invited half the city. Marcus is going too." I kept my face perfectly still, but inside, something clicked into place, like the last piece of a blueprint. Of course he was going. Raymond Thomas was my biggest client, old school, rich, the kind of man who built his whole reputation on honesty and a handshake. A man like Marcus would crawl across glass to be in that room, to network, to shine. And Vanessa would be on my arm in her amazing dress, working the room as the perfect wife of the famous architect. The two of them, in the same place, in front of everyone who mattered. It was perfect. "That sounds wonderful," I said. "When am I giving my speech?" She blinked. "Your speech?" Raymond asked me to say a few words. "About the project, the partnership." I shrugged. "He likes me to talk at these things." "Oh," she smiled, already bored of it. "That's nice, babe." She had no idea she'd just confirmed I'd have a microphone. I called Lena that night. "It's the gala," I said. "All of them in one room. Raymond, the whole city, Marcus, her, and I've got the speech." There was a pause on the line. "Danny," Lena said slowly, "are you sure? Once you do this, there's no taking it back. Everyone sees. There's no quiet divorce after that. It's public." I walked to the window and looked out at the city I'd spent 8 years building a place in. I thought about the cologne, the flipped phone. "You're so insecure, Daniel. I thought you were better than this." I thought about October and the necklace, and how she'd cried and called herself lucky 2 days after checking into that room with him. I thought about March, and the tea I'd packed for a hospital she never went to. I thought about 47. "They didn't keep it quiet when they did it to me," I said. "For 14 months. Quietly was never an option for me. They just made sure I didn't know." Lena was silent. "No," I said, "not quiet. She wanted a night where everyone was watching." I closed the curtain. "She's going to get one." The plan was finished. The room was built. Every wall, every lock, every door. Exactly where I needed it. All that was left now was the night itself, 3 weeks away. And in a folder on my phone, 47 dates were waiting to be read out loud. The night of the gala. Vanessa looked beautiful. I need you to know that. She came down the stairs in a deep red dress, hair up, and for 1 second I forgot everything and just saw the woman I married. Then she smiled at me, and I saw the lie in it, and the second was over. "You look amazing," I told her. It wasn't even a lie. "You clean up nice yourself." She fixed my tie. "Big night." "Don't be nervous about the speech." "I'm not nervous," I said. "I've been practicing." The venue was a grand old hall downtown. High ceilings, gold light, 100 of the most important people in the city holding champagne. Raymond Thomas met us at the door himself, shook my hand with both of his. "Daniel, my favorite architect." He kissed Vanessa's cheek. "And the lovely Mrs. Cole. You two are my golden couple, you know that?" "You're too kind, Raymond," Vanessa said, glowing. "Speech is after dinner, Daniel," Raymond said, "right before we do the toast. The whole room will be listening. No pressure." He laughed and moved on. "The whole room will be listening." I felt the folder on my phone like a weight in my jacket pocket. We found our table, and 10 minutes later, across the room, I saw him, Marcus, in a tuxedo, of course, laughing too loud at someone's joke, a glass in his hand. He spotted Vanessa and gave her a little nod. She gave him one back, tiny, secret. They thought no one saw. I saw. Dinner came and went. I don't remember eating. Vanessa talked and laughed and touched my arm for show, the perfect wife, while I watched the clock and felt that cold, calm thing spread through my whole body like still water. Then Raymond stood up and tapped his glass, and the room went quiet. "Before the toast," he said, "I want to bring up a man who built half the beautiful things in this city. My friend, My partner, Daniel Cole. Daniel, come say a few words. The applause started. Vanessa squeezed my hand and beamed up at me. Go get 'em, babe, she whispered. I stood up. I buttoned my jacket, and I walked up to that microphone with 100 faces turned toward me, and the woman I loved smiling in her red dress, and the man who wanted my life laughing in his tuxedo. I took the mic off the stand. Thank you, Raymond, I said. My voice was steady, and thank you all for being here. The room settled in, ready for a polite little speech about buildings. I'm not going to talk about architecture tonight, I said, a small, curious murmur. Tonight I want to talk about dedication. I let that word sit, because I'm married to the most dedicated woman I've ever met, and I don't think she gets enough credit for how hard she works. People smiled. Some looked at Vanessa, who was glowing, soaking it up. My wife goes to the gym, I said, a lot, so much that I started to feel insecure about it. I actually asked her once if there was someone else. I let out a soft laugh, and the room laughed warmly with me, and she looked at me and said, Daniel, I thought you were better than this. Vanessa's smile flickered, just slightly. And she was right, I said. I should have been better. I should have trusted the evidence instead of the excuses. So tonight, I'd like to honor my wife's incredible dedication by sharing exactly how committed she's been. The room had gone very quiet now, the kind of quiet where people sense something coming but can't name it. I took out my phone. Over the last 14 months, I said, my wife checked into the Hartwell Hotel downtown. Room 1408 mostly. Let me read you the dates. Vanessa's face changed. October 9th, I read. 2 days before our anniversary. The glass slipped in her hand. She caught it. December 3rd. March 20th. The night she told me she was at the hospital with her mother. My voice never rose, never shook. April 2nd. April 19th. May 10th. Daniel, Vanessa said. It came out cracked. People were turning to stare at her now. Daniel, stop. June 14th, I read. July 1st. July 22nd. Across the room, Marcus had gone white. He set his glass down on a table very carefully and started moving toward the doors. Each one paid for, I said. Some of them out of our joint account. My money. For a king suite. For her and her gym buddy. I looked up from the phone, right at her. His name is Marcus. He's here tonight. He was going to be my business partner. Every head in that room swung toward Marcus, who froze halfway to the exit like a deer in headlights. There are 47 dates, I said quietly into the mic. I'll spare you the rest. The silence was total. 100 people. Not one sound. Vanessa stood up. Her chair scraped loud in the quiet. Her face had gone from glowing to grey, and her mouth opened and closed and nothing came out, because for the first time in 14 months, there was nothing to turn around. No way to make me the crazy one. No excuse big enough for the room full of people watching her. You're a monster, she finally whispered, but it was weak, and everyone heard it for what it was. No, I said. I'm just a man who finally believed what he saw. I set the microphone back on the stand. Then I looked at Raymond, who was staring at me with an expression I'll never forget. Not pity, not shock. Respect. Sorry, Raymond, I said. Now you can do the toast. And I walked off that stage, past the staring faces, past Marcus frozen by the door, past my wife standing alone in her beautiful red dress, in a room where everyone now knew exactly who she was. I didn't run. I didn't cry. I just walked out into the cool night air and took the first real breath I'd taken in 14 months. Behind me, the silence finally broke into 100 voices, all talking at once. Let them talk. I was already gone. The story didn't end in that hall. It just stopped being loud. Here's what happened after. Marcus was finished within a month. Not because of me. I never touched him. I didn't have to. A room full of the city's most important people had watched him freeze and run. Word travels. The investors he'd been charming suddenly stopped returning his calls. The doors he loved to brag about opening, they closed, one by one. Turns out when your whole game is being the charming guy everyone likes, it falls apart fast the second everyone knows what you really are. Last I heard, he'd left the city. Nobody fought to keep him. He never got near my firm. That wall held. It'll always hold. Vanessa was harder. The divorce was clean, legally. David had built it that way. The firm was untouchable. The joint account charges David had circled in red, the hotel rooms she'd paid for with our money. Those mattered exactly as much as he'd promised. When it was over, she walked away with far less than she thought she would, and not one piece of the thing I'd built. But that's not the part I remember. The part I remember is the day she came to sign the final papers. We met at David's office. She looked thinner, tired. The glow was gone. "Can we talk?" she said. "Just us. 5 minutes." David looked at me. I nodded. He stepped out. For a moment she just sat there, twisting her ring, the one she still hadn't given back. "Did you ever love me?" she finally asked. I almost laughed at that. Almost. "That's the wrong question," I said. "Then what's the right one? You should be asking if you ever loved me." I leaned back. "Because I know my answer. I loved you completely, with everything. I packed your tea for a hospital you never went to. That's how much. The problem was never whether I loved you, Vanessa. It's that you spent it. Like it was money in a joint account you thought would never run out." Her eyes filled up. And for 1 second I felt the old pull, the urge to soften it, to make her feel better, to apologize for hurting her. 14 months of training is hard to kill. But then she said something that told me everything. "Do you know what people are saying about me?" Her voice cracked, but not from heartbreak, from shame. "I can't go anywhere. Everyone knows. Everyone's talking. You humiliated me in front of the whole." "There it is," I said quietly. She stopped. "You're not crying because you lost me," I said. "You're crying because you lost the picture, the golden couple, the amazing dress, the version of you that everyone admired." I shook my head slowly. "You never once, in this whole conversation, said you were sorry. You just said it's bad that everyone knows." She didn't answer, because there was no answer. And that's when the last of it let go in my chest. Not with anger, with something gentler, almost like grief, but cleaner. I wasn't looking at the woman I'd loved anymore. I was looking at someone I finally completely understood. And I understood I'd never really known her at all. "Sign the papers, Vanessa," I said, and I stood up. "Take your ring." I walked out and didn't look back. I thought I'd feel like a king. I didn't. I just felt quiet, light, like I'd put down something so heavy I'd forgotten I was carrying it. That evening, I drove to Lena's. We sat on her back porch with 2 cups of coffee, the way we had at the very start of all this. The sky was going pink and gold over the rooftops. "It's done," I told her. "All of it. Signed." Lena looked at me for a long moment. "How do you feel?" I thought about it honestly. "Free," I said. She smiled. Then she reached over and put something in my hand. It was the receipt, the first one. The hotel receipt I'd found in Vanessa's coat all those weeks ago. The one I'd folded into a tiny square and kept behind my ID. I'd given it to Lena for safekeeping the day everything started. I'd forgotten she still had it. "I figured you'd want to decide what to do with it," she said. I looked down at that little piece of paper, the thing that had started it all, the thing that had nearly broken me in a dark driveway. Once, I'd been too scared to even pull it out of that coat pocket, because some part of me knew I couldn't unknow it. Now it just looked small, like nothing. I tore it in half, then in half again. Then I let the pieces drop off the porch into the evening wind, and I watched them scatter and disappear. Lena bumped my shoulder with hers. "You okay, Danny?" "Yeah," I said, and I meant it. I used to think peace and silence were the same thing. For 14 months I called it peace. Every time I swallowed a question, every time I apologized for something I never did, every time I turned off the alarm so I wouldn't have to wake up, I told myself that quiet meant everything was fine. It wasn't peace. It was just silence. And silence will let anything happen to you, as long as it's quiet about it. Peace is different. Peace is what you get on the other side, after you finally stop being afraid of the truth, after you say the thing out loud, no matter who's watching, and walk into the cool night air and breathe. I sat on my sister's porch and drank my coffee and watched the sky turn dark. For the first time in a long, long time, it was quiet, and this time, the quiet was mine.